Hello dear students, I am Mr. Amol Handore, working as an assistant professor at Department of Zoology, KTHM College, Nasik. I welcome you for this next lecture of the subject Fundamental of Systematics. In today's lecture, we are going to deal with chapter number 5, that is Kingdoms of Life, and topic of today's discussion will be Introduction to the 5 Kingdom Classification System, which was proposed by Robert H. Whittaker. So let's take a brief recap of previous lecture. In the previous lecture, we have studied the different taxonomic procedure in which we have studied the taxonomic collection, what is the need of taxonomic collection, what are the precautions that needs to be taken during the taxonomic collection of specimens. Then we understood what is meant by taxonomic labeling and what precautions need to be taken for the same. And finally, we have studied the preservation of the taxonomic specimens. So what methods you should follow for proper preservation of the taxonomic specimens. So session objective for today's lecture will be, we will have a look at the history and introduction to the 5 kingdom classification system. So how this 5 kingdoms classification system evolved over the period of time. Then we will have a look at which were the criteria used by Whittaker for this 5 kingdom classification system. Then we will have a look at the different characteristics of this 5 kingdom classification system. And finally, we will study the first kingdom, that is Kingdom Monera, and its characteristics with its classification into Archaebacteria, Eubacteria and Mycoplasma. So let's study our first study objective, that is history and introduction to the 5 kingdom classification system. So this 5 kingdom classification system which was proposed by R.H. Whittaker. So after completing today's this session objective, the learner should be able to understand history of classification, followed by he should be able to understand the outline of the 5 kingdom classification system. So the first question comes in our mind, why there is need of classification. So as we started domesticating animals, we understood the requirement of organism in different sectors, and that's how there arose the need to organize these different organisms in different groups. So the pioneering work in the field of taxonomy was done by the great Greek philosopher, that is Aristotle. So he was the first man to attempt the scientific classification and to give the basis of classification system. He used very simple morphological characters to distinguish organisms and classify them into different groups like plants as trees, shrubs and herbs. So all the plants were categorized into 3 groups, that is trees, shrubs and herbs, whereas he classified all the animals into 2 groups, that is anemia, that is having the red blood, and anemia without red blood. So all animals were classified into 2 groups. Similarly, he also classified all the organisms based on their mode of reproduction. So he classified them into ovipary, that is egg laying animals, and vivipary, which are directly giving birth to the young ones. Now the second major contribution to the history of taxonomy was given by the great philosopher and taxonomist, that is Carolus Linnaeus. So Carolus Linnaeus is also referred to as father of taxonomy. He has published a book, Systema Naturae, in which he has given the 2 kingdom classification system. So this was the first proposed system of classification for classifying all the living organisms. So in this 2 kingdom classification system which was proposed by Linnaeus, he classified all the living organisms in 2 kingdoms, that is Kingdom Plantae and Kingdom Animalia. However, this system has a lacuna, or rather we can say disadvantage, that there is no clear-cut distinction between the eukaryotes and prokaryotes. So there was no such differentiation between all the eukaryotes, and even prokaryotes were clubbed together. There was no distinction between the unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. That was the second lacuna of this system. And thirdly, all the photosynthetic organisms and non-photosynthetic organisms were clubbed together. So these were the three demerits, we can say, of the two kingdom system which was proposed by Carolus Linnaeus. So in this slide you can see these two kingdoms which were proposed by the Carolus Linnaeus. So the first kingdom he named it as Kingdom Plantae, which includes bacteria, mycoplasma, fungi and photosynthetic plants. So the only criteria which was selected by Carolus Linnaeus was presence or absence of the cell wall. So the all cell wall possessing organism, they were clubbed together into a single kingdom, that is Kingdom Plantae, and all the organisms which lack cell wall, they were clubbed into the second kingdom, that is your Kingdom Animalia. So the second kingdom, that is Kingdom Animalia, includes all the unicellular and multicellular animals. Now we come to the next system. So since this system has so many lacunae and even new organisms were discovered day by day, so there arose a need for a better system of classification. So a new system of classification, that is three kingdom classification system, was proposed by Ernst Haeckel in the year 1866. So according to this three kingdom classification system proposed by Haeckel, he classified all the organism into three kingdoms. So he added another kingdom, that is Kingdom Protista. So whatever lacuna or demerit of the Carolus Linnaeus system, he tried to overcome with addition of a new kingdom, that is Kingdom Protista. So in this three kingdoms classification system, you can see all the unicellular organisms, now they are removed from other kingdoms and they are transferred to the third kingdom, that is Kingdom Protista. So in this picture you can clearly see the third kingdom, that is Protista, has unicellular organism, Plantae include all the plants, and Animalia include all the animals. So in this picture you can see the clear-cut distinction of the classification done in the three kingdom classification system. So by Ernst Haeckel, he classified all protists like unicellular algae, fungi and bacteria into the Protista. So this third kingdom now gives a place to all the algae, fungi and protozoans, so which were lacking in the two kingdom classification system. However, in the latter systems which come after this system, the Kingdom Protista is reserved for the unicellular organisms only. So the demerit of this system, we can say, the Protista kingdom which was newly established includes all unicellular as well as multicellular organism. So that was the major demerit. Now a next system of classification was proposed by Hobart Copeland in the year 1956. He introduced fourth kingdom now, and that was Monera. So Monera was added as a fourth kingdom because bacteria which are unicellular and prokaryotic organisms, which were earlier included into the protist, but later it was come to know that there should be distinction between the prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So the fourth kingdom classification system was proposed. So according to this four kingdom classification system, all the prokaryotes including eubacteria, that is true bacteria, archaebacteria, which are nothing but the ancient bacteria which includes cyanobacteria, blue-green algae, they were all included into the fourth kingdom, that is Kingdom Monera. So in this picture you can get a clear overview of the four kingdoms. Kingdom Monera was newly added kingdom which includes all the prokaryotic organisms, and the previous three kingdoms were maintained as it is, but all the unicellular prokaryotes were transferred to the fourth kingdom, that is Kingdom Monera. Now we come to the today's topic of discussion, that is five kingdom classification system. Now this five kingdom classification system was proposed by Robert H. Whittaker in the year 1969. So this was a major development in the field of taxonomy where he separated the kingdom fungi. So he established the fifth kingdom now, that is called as kingdom fungi. So this five kingdom classification system, in this picture you can see a separate kingdom was developed to encompass all the fungi. So the fifth kingdom, that is fungi, was developed. In this picture also you can see all the five kingdoms now. Monera include all the unicellular organisms. These are basically all prokaryotes. The second kingdom, that is Protista, include unicellular as well as the second kingdom, that is Protista, include all the multicellular eukaryotes. The third kingdom, that is kingdom Plantae, include all the plants. Fourth kingdom, that is kingdom Animalia, includes all the animals which are eukaryotic multicellular organisms. And the fifth kingdom, which is newly established kingdom, we can say, that is kingdom Fungi, which include all the fungi. So in this last slide, we can take an overview of the five kingdom classification system which was proposed by Robert Whittaker. So the first kingdom is kingdom Monera, includes prokaryotic, autotrophic as well as heterotrophic organisms. So these are bacteria which are autotrophic. Some can prepare their own food, and most of the bacteria, they are dependent on other organisms. Kingdom Protista includes eukaryotic, unicellular, autotrophic as well as heterotrophic organisms. Kingdom Fungi included eukaryotic, multicellular, heterotrophic organisms as well as spore producing organisms. The fourth kingdom, that is kingdom Plantae, include all chlorophyllous multicellular photosynthetic organism. Now the very interesting feature of kingdom Plantae, they are autotrophic. They utilize this sunlight and they can prepare their own food with the process of photosynthesis. So the kingdom Plantae is like food for all other kingdoms. And finally, kingdom Animalia, which includes multicellular, holozoic or phagocytic type of eukaryotes which are multicellular in nature and show organ level of organization. Now we come to today's second session objective. So after completing this session, we will be able to understand criteria which are used for the five kingdom classification system, followed by the characteristics of the five kingdom classification system. Okay, so the first important part of today's discussion is what are the criteria which were used by Whittaker for classifying these organisms into five kingdoms or the five kingdom classification system. So the first important criteria was complexity of cell structure. So this includes whether the cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So prokaryotic, we means that the nucleus is absent. These are the primitive type of cells which did not develop nucleus, and on the other hand we have eukaryotic cell in which a true nucleus is present. The second criteria which was used by Whittaker was complexity of organism's body. So whether the organism is unicellular or multicellular was the second criteria that was used. The third criteria was mode of nutrition. So how the organism derive their nutrition. So based on these, organisms were classified or grouped into autotrophic, heterotrophic or ingestive mode of nutrition. Next important criteria was used, that is major economic role played by that particular organism. So we know that all organisms forming a food chain, they can be producers, they can be consumers, or they can act as a decomposers. So what is their ecological role as producers, consumers or decomposers were taken into consideration while classifying the organism into five kingdoms. And the last important criteria which was used by Whittaker was the phylogenetic relationship or evolutionary relationship. So whether this evolutionary relation is a simple type or it is a more complex type was also taken into consideration while classifying all the organisms into 5 kingdoms. Now we will see how the organisms were exactly classified using this chart. So all organisms were first classified into based on whether they are prokaryotes or eukaryotes. So all prokaryotes were clubbed together into a single kingdom, that is kingdom Monera. So to qualify as a prokaryote, the organism should have very tiny simple cell. There are no organelles as well as nucleus is absent, and all other major organelle being lacking, such organisms are grouped into the kingdom, that is kingdom Monera. And after dividing this into Monera, whatever other organisms, they were classified as eukaryotes because they have a nucleus and presence of well-defined cell organelles. So eukaryotes, they are comparatively larger cells, they are more complex, and they have numerous cell organelles which are there to perform different functions in the cell. So they are basically doing different type of metabolic functions required for the cell. Now the second criteria was presence or absence of the cell wall. So all those lacking cell wall, they are classified again into the unicellular or multicellular organisms. Organisms which are lacking cell wall and unicellular in nature, they are included in the kingdom Protista, and organisms which are lacking cell wall but they are multicellular, they are classified into the kingdom, that is Animalia. Similarly, organisms which are having the cell wall but they are autotrophic in nature, that means they can prepare their own food, they are classified into the kingdom Plantae. And on the other hand, organisms which are having the cell wall but they are heterotrophs, that means they are dependent for their food requirement on other organisms, are classified into the 5th kingdom, that is kingdom Fungi. Now we will come to the last part of this topic, that is characteristics of this 5 kingdom classification system. So in this table you can see how these 5 kingdoms were classified based on these different characters. So as we have seen in the previous chart, all this is organized into this table. So first character we discussed was cell type. So whether the cell is prokaryotic or eukaryotic, we have the kingdom Monera only, which includes prokaryotic organisms, and all the eukaryotics organism, they are included in the remaining 4 kingdom, that is kingdom Protista, kingdom Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. The second character which was used was presence or absence of cell wall. So in this table you can see the monerans or the bacteria, they may or may not have the cell wall, but if it is present, it is made up of polysaccharides and some amino acids. In protist, cell wall is present in some organisms and in some it is absent. In fungi, cell wall is present, it is made up of chitin or chitinous in nature. On the other hand, in Plantae, cell wall is always present, made up of cellulose. Only in Animalia kingdom, cell wall is absent. The third character was presence of or absence of the nuclear membrane. So it is absent in Monera. However, it is present in remaining 4 kingdom, that is Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. The fourth character was body organization taken into consideration. So the monerans, they are unicellular, so they cellular level of organization. Protist also, so they are unicellular organisms, so they show cellular level of organization. On the other hand, you have the fungi, plantae and animalia, which are multicellular organisms. So plantae have more developed system, that is tissue level of organization, and the animals showing the organ level of organization. Now the last point, that is mode of nutrition. So based on that, we have the monerans or bacteria which can be autotrophic or they can be heterotrophic. Majority of monerans are heterotrophic. They are dependent on other organisms for their food. They act like saprophytes or decomposers. We have protista, which are also can be autotrophic or heterotrophic. We have fungi, which are always heterotrophic. They are dependent on other organism for their food requirement. We have plantae, which are always autotrophic. They can prepare their own food with the help of sunlight and chlorophyll pigment. And we have animalia, which are also always heterotrophic, that is they are dependent for their food on the other organisms. So with this we conclude this topic, that is what are the criteria and characters which are used for the classification in 5 kingdom classification system by R.H. Whitaker. So all these monerans, they are classified into 2 subkingdoms, that is subkingdom Archaebacteria and subkingdom Eubacteria. These Archaebacteria includes all the extremophiles which can live in the extreme conditions of environment, like they can live in the hot water spring, they can live in the as cold as in snow. And we have the second category, that is Eubacteria, which are also called as true bacteria. So there are different types of Eubacteria which are omnipresent in our environment. Now let's study the first category, that is Archaebacteria or ancient bacteria. So they live in the most harsh habitats or conditions of which are very difficult for the survival. So you can have some Archaebacteria which can live in even very high salt concentration, like seawater. Those are called as halophiles. You have these bacteria living in the hot spring. Those are referred to as thermoacidophiles. You have these bacteria which are living in the marshy areas, referred to as methanogens. So they have a cell wall basically which is different than other bacteria, which makes them susceptible to live in such harsh conditions. Now we come to the second category of monerans, that is Eubacteria. So these Eubacteria, they are also called as true bacteria. They are characterized by presence of the rigid cell wall, and they have a single or multiple flagellum present on the cell for the movement or motility. Now this includes the heterotrophic bacteria. They are abundant. So most of the Eubacteria are the heterotrophs which are dependent on other organism for their food requirement. They basically act like saprophytes. So they feed on the dead and decaying matter. So that is their mode of nutrition. And if we see, some of them are pathogenic in nature. So most of the human diseases or even animal diseases are caused by this pathogenic type of bacteria. Finally, if we see the reproduction of these Eubacteria, it is mainly by fission process. So binary fission is the major mode of reproduction in these Eubacteria. Third group that is also considered along with these monerans is called as Mycoplasma. So Mycoplasma, they completely lack a cell wall. So they do not have cell wall in their cell structure. They are the smallest living cells known to the human beings. They can survive even without oxygen. So they are anaerobic in their mode. And many Mycoplasmas are known to humankind to be pathogenic in nature to plants as well as animals. Now, we can classify these monerans or bacteria even based on the shape of their cell. So they can be classified into 4 major groups. All the bacteria which have the spherical shape, they are called as coccus or in plural we can call them as cocci. So in this picture you can see a typical coccus which is having a spherical shape. The second category is called as bacilli. So these bacilli are the rod shaped bacteria. So in this picture you can see they have a rod shape to their cell. The third type of bacteria based on their shape are the comma shaped bacteria, which is also referred to as vibrio or vibrium. So in this picture you can see a typical vibrio. And fourth category are the spiral shaped bacteria, which are also called as spirillum. So there is a assignment for you. You have to submit an assignment on explain the details about the criteria which are used and the characteristics of 5 kingdom classification system which was proposed by Whittaker. So you have to write a long answer question onto this, scan it in the form of PDF and upload it onto Google Classroom by 10th of November. We come to the summary of today's lecture. So in today's lecture we have discussed history and introduction to the 5 kingdom classification system, followed by we have studied what are the criteria which are used by Whittaker for proposing this 5 kingdom classification system. Then we looked at the overall characteristics of this 5 kingdom classification system, and finally we have studied the first kingdom of this system, that is kingdom Monera, in which we studied the Archaebacteria, Eubacteria and Mycoplasmas. Finally we summed up with the different types of bacteria based on the shape of the cell. Now let's take a brief recap of the next lecture. So in next lecture we are going to deal with the remaining 4 kingdoms of this 5 kingdom system, in which we will study the kingdom Protista, followed by we will study the kingdom Fungi, and then we will study the kingdom Plantae and Animalia, what are the characteristics used for their classification, followed by the different types which are present in these 4 kingdoms.